Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another installment of Jantmor interviews. I'm your host, Josh, aka Jantmor, and today I am speaking to the voice of Porky Pig and Tweety Bird from Looney Tunes, Llama Sue from Bad Batch, Luke Skywalker, and dozens of Star Wars video games. He's been in the movie Gremlins. He's been in both Space Jams. He's just a legend and all-around great guy. I'm excited to be speaking to the amazing, the talented, and humble Bob Bergen. Bob, welcome to an installment of Jantmor interviews. I'm glad to have you
And
here.
you're a very patient guy, so thank you.
No, you're fine. I try to be patient, but it happens. Life happens. Before we get into the questions and stuff, I would just like to say I'm really excited to be speaking to you. Like, I'm a huge fan of your work and just your line of work that you got going on. I looked at all the stuff you've been in. I was like, oh, he was in this, he was that. What? And I like freaked out. I was like legit freaking out. One cool thing about like interviewing people is just seeing the work they've done and what they've been in. And it legit is just so awesome to like see and just like how they've been a part of my life since I was a little kid. So I'm just really honored to be speaking to you
Gosh, you're
and
still a little
thank you.
kid. You're a little kid. You know you are.
You know what? Yeah, I'm not in a rush to grow up anyway, so I
Me
am.
too, dude. Me too. Totally. Please.
Yeah, but some cool things I found out about you. I love to research and look at some interviews or some past things you've talked about. I don't want to look too deep because I do want to be a little bit surprised, but I do my due diligence and research. But a cool thing I found out about you is that you are well known for your voice acting work, but some might not know that you did tour guiding for Universal for 5 years. What was that like?
Well, it's how I paid my bills when I got my SAG card when I was 18, and I became a tour guide when I was 18, and I was already auditioning for stuff. I was booking occasionally, but when you're a beginning actor, the occasional job doesn't pay the bills. So it was a great job, and here's why. First of all, it was fun. Second of all, it was I've got lifelong friends who came from those tour guide days, but a lot of them are in the business. A lot of them are in casting. My friend Chris Ledesma has been doing music for The Simpsons since it began. So we've all kind of come up in the business together, and it's like a sorority fraternity group. So, but I also used to spend my days off. I used to make sure that my days off were during the week. Most people wanted weekends off because the weekends were the crowded days and back-to-back tours. I wanted weekdays off because I would go on the back lot and I would watch movies and TV shows being filmed. And I would meet actors and directors, and I learned the set. I learned how an actor hits their mark. I learned the camera. I would talk to cinematographers. I remember talking to Burt Reynolds and Dom DeLuise when they were working on Amazing Stories, and Anthony Perkins when he was directing Psycho 3. So it was a really good education on the business of the business, and I took advantage of it.
That's so cool. Oh my gosh. That makes me want to do it. Do something like that.
Yeah, well, it's a hard test because you memorize a book this thick, and this much of it is the tour, and the rest of it is installment. Well, I take that back. It's different now. There are monitors on the cars, and if there's a problem up ahead, I used to have to talk the whole time. They just push a button and show us a clip of something. So I think the tour is a lot easier today than it was when I was there. But for actors, it's a great summer job. It's a great holiday job. But it is a tough job.
I could only imagine because I see all the people just coming through and oh, I couldn't. More power to you. I couldn't. But you're a legendary voice actor. And speaking of voice acting, you also did coaching and you coached someone that I interviewed, Roger Craig Smith. Roger Craig Smith.
Roger Craig Smith. I've had a handful of people. I've been teaching for 35 years. I've had a handful of people who the first time they came out to the mic, I'm like, yeah, they've got the it factor. They're brilliant. And Roger Craig Smith is certainly one of them. The guy was brilliant from the get-go.
I could look at him now. Like he's Batman, he's Sonic, he's Ezio. I mean, he's done like some amazing things. I just thought that was like a cool little, connection that y'all had. Cause I remember watching an interview he did. And he was like, I took classes with Bob Bergen. He was great. And I loved it. I was like, oh, this is really cool. So I'm getting to speak to his teacher. That's really, really awesome. What do you get out of teaching? Like, what do you get out of coaching? Like, what does that do for you personally?
Oh, it's a great question. I first of all, I never sought out to teach. It kind of came after me. I was doing a play back in the 80s. And a guy came to my dressing room afterwards and said, I'm opening up a school. Would you like to teach? And I said, no, but thank you. And then about a year later, the SAG Conservatory asked me if I would do just an evening talking about voiceover and animation. And I said, what do you pay? And they said, nothing. It's a volunteer thing. I said, what do the students pay? And they said, $10 a year for the entire year they get classes. I went, okay, that'll do. Because if I'm terrible at it, I won't have Jewish guilt for taking money. So I did that for a while. And then I went back to that school and I started teaching for them. And I did that for a couple of years and then I went on my own. And what I get out of it is, well, first of all, I'm honest. If anybody's ever studied with me, they know that I'm not going to sugarcoat. I'm not going to say you're great just to get more money from you. But I love taking actors to the next step. I love watching the creative process. I love this is a hard business. And I'm not going to say, study with me for a couple of months and get a demo. I'm going to say, study with everybody. Study acting, study improv, then study voiceover. I study with everybody and make a great demo and be a good business person and a good marketer. So what I get out of it is the Roger Craig Smiths and the JP Carliacks and the Misty Lees.
Wait, you taught JP Carl him?
Oh yeah.
That's so
yeah. And Max Middleman. I mean, the people that I saw that first time at the mic, and I'm like, they've got the it factor. It's just a matter of time. Now, I don't tell them that. I never tell them that. I don't want them to get a swelled head. But I will know the first time someone's at the mic, boy, I'll be working with them one day. And it's exciting. I remember the first time I worked with JP. It took a while for us to work together, but I think it might have been New Looney Tunes, and he was doing Wile E. Coyote. In fact, he got cast on that show before I did. And Roger Craig Smith, I worked on, I think, Marvel's Avengers Assemble. When you get to work with people, I did one of the Smurfs movies with Max. It's exciting to get to work with the people that you've taught. It's a privilege because, I have many people in my past, from Dawes Butler to Casey Kasem, Don LaFontaine, who took me by the hand and guided me and corrected me. I mean, these were the days when people would say, don't do that, you idiot. You're gonna ruin your career. Do it this way. And God bless them. It was called tough love back then. And I got a ton of it because I made a lot of mistakes. We all did. But I had a lot of really great mentors who guided me in the beginning. That's what I get out of it. I like finding and guiding that next generation.
I could only imagine. It's like a proud father moment, seeing your son just move up to the next level and see him do what he does next. Like, I could only imagine just like how you feel to see, like, you could be like, I raised that kid. He's Batman, or
well, but I will tell you that, I can only do so much. It all starts with talent. I think you're born with talent. And I think what classes will do is give you the techniques to repeat your talent at will consistently. So the people that are working, the people that are brilliant, the people that work consistently, they had it already.
Right. And it's definitely evident just seeing their like catalog and their rap sheet is it could go on for days. I mean, for you, like, we could literally be here all day just talking about the stuff you've been in. Gremlins, Space Jam, Spirited Away, Star Wars, which you're definitely gonna get into. That's big right now, of course, with the Bad Batch going on. New episode came out a couple days ago, last Friday, about the Ryloth arc. Have you been keeping up with the show? Because I remember I was watching something and you said you don't usually watch the stuff you're in because of just like how you are. Yeah.
I'm not fond of watching my work. Okay, start with that. I also don't have Disney Plus, so I've not seen it.
Wow.
No.
Dang. Okay.
No, but I don't watch a lot of my work because, I might have recorded that 2 years ago and I'm not in control of which take they use. I'm not in control of the editing. So I just get very self-conscious listening to my own work. I think I saw Space Jam, the first one. Me and Dee Baker and Jocelyn Blue went to a screening. They re-released it for the 20th anniversary, I guess now 5 years ago. Wow, it feels like yesterday. And I don't think I had seen it since it premiered 20 years before that. And I turned to D at one point and I said, okay, that is definitely my voice up there, but I have no recollection of ever recording that line.
Man, gosh, D. Bradley Baker, what another legend. I mean, like, you've been in this industry for a long time. I know you must have like stories with these people like D. Baker or Steve Bloom, or, you know, just these legends.
Steve Bloom. Steve Bloom's another one who was on my list, who took my class, and I said, matter of time. He was another one where I was like, dude, you're brilliant. You're just brilliant.
You're blowing my mind right now. I love Steve. It's so cool getting that.
I do too. But you're talking about people. Steve Bloom, Roger Craig Smith. You're talking about people who are as nice as they are talented, as generous as they are talented. These are not just, you know, do you know who I am and what I do? None of us are like that. I mean, okay, I take that back. There are jerks in every area of life, but in the world of voiceover, compared to like on camera, voice actors are nice. Voice actors, we're the kind of people that would call a fellow actor and say, dude, I just auditioned at Voice Casters for blah, blah, blah. You're perfect for it if your agent didn't get you in. We do that all the time for you. I'll be sitting there watching, you know, Billy West and Jess Harnell and Jeff Bergman, who's just freaking brilliant. And I was just taking notes going, I can do that. I want to do that. How did he do that? We are a mutual admiration society. We love each other and we love each other's work.
I've heard that a lot. Or for example, I was talking to David Sobolov. I don't know if you know who that is. He did Shockwave.
No, well,
so cool. He did Shockwave and Transformers Prime, and Steve Bloom got cast as Shockwave, the same character for the video games. Steve Bloom called David to make sure it was okay with him before he even touched the, like, that's just so cool. Like, you don't really hear about that.
Well, yes, you do. Yes, you do. Because this is what we do for each other. There's a handshake gentleman's agreement and gentle ladies agreement that you don't go after each other's work. Now, you mentioned the Star Wars franchise. I've told the story before, I'll tell it again. I've done Luke Skywalker for a million things. The very first thing they wanted me for, I think, was Rogue Squadron, the game, I think, or Battlefront. I don't remember because I'm old. Okay, Josh? But the first thing that happened was I turned the audition down because I said to my agent, I can't do Mark Hamill. And my agent says, you want to pass? I said, yeah. So she passed, and then she called me back. She said, the producers still want to see you. I said, okay. And I went to the audition and I said, I can't do Mark Hamill. And they said, don't do Mark Hamill, do Luke Skywalker. And I went, oh. And they said, look. And now, by the way, I had seen up to that point the first 3 Star Wars movies. I enjoyed them, but I wasn't a fanatic. I didn't really know the Star Wars universe that well. So they literally guided me. And they showed me clips. They said, look, there's pre-Jedi and post-Jedi Luke. So pre-Jedi Luke, he's kind of whiny. He's a kid. And he really wants to do stuff, but he's got this cadence to him. And then he gets this thing called the Force. And he gets a little bit more mature. He still has that same cadence. His intonation's the same, but the Force is with him. Okay. So I auditioned, they worked me, and then I got the job. And I said to my agent, before you say yes, I need you to call Mark's agent and find out if he's in negotiations because he wants more money, if they haven't come to him, if if his answer was no, I want this job. He is Luke Skywalker. Okay. He didn't want it. So that was at a time when it was before the next round of movies. He didn't want it. So I kind of had his blessing from his agent. It's okay to do this. My point is, over the years, the Simpsons cast have been in negotiations for more money. Futurama, and I had students contacting me. Hey, can you coach me on Homer Simpson? I'm like, no, I can't, and here's why. Because these people have put Fox on the network. They are 30-something years, and is this hugely successful show. And if the planets align and you are ever in a position where you're on such a successful show that you can negotiate, I don't know, whatever it was, 6 figures an episode, you don't want your fellow actors to get in the way of that either. So do not get into this business that way. None of us, I remember when my buddy Fred Tatasciore I go back, my buddy Maurice LaMarche was Yosemite Sam, also the voice of Lexus. Well, Yosemite Sam, I wouldn't even audition for because, I'm a real cow. That hurts, okay? So Mo was doing really well with Lexus because he wanted to back off a little bit. So Fred asked Mo permission. I won't do this without your blessing. So anyway, my point is we do that for each other. That's just what we do.
I really love that, because it just go back to what you were saying earlier about how voice actors generally nice. They look out for each other. And a lot of the entertainment industries, especially when it comes to like music, you hear a lot about just people doing what they got to do to get to the top. They don't care who they hurt. They don't care what happens. They steal from one another. They rip off of each other's songs. I mean, you hear all the time people going to court because one example, Robin Thicke, he stole one of his popular songs. He stole that from another artist, and he went to court for that. And I think he got fined for that because he stole it. And it's just really heart-wrenching to hear what some people will do to get to the top, like hurt one another, or in his case, steal, because that was a popular song for the time. I remember when that song dropped. It was huge. I think it was Blurred Lines that he stole, was the song that he went to court for.
I don't know the details of the suit. I just know that there was a song that was very similar. They went to court, and but I don't even know if he consciously stole it or if it was just a song in his head that inspired it. Who knows? Now I'll tell you, you can't steal a voice. Mel Blanc years ago tried to copyright his voices, and the judge threw it out because every voice has a completely different voice print. Just like we have a different fingerprint. It may sound the same, but it's not technically the same. So I'm inspired by my fellow actors. I'm inspired by real people. So you might take an impression of somebody. Like I could do a very bad Bill Clinton impression, like this. And if I look at the character and they talk about the character and they say that the character has a bit of a rasp in his voice, so I had a rasp in my voice more than Bill Clinton does. And I look at the picture, he's talking down the side of his face like this. And it says that he's from New York. So I started with my Bill Clinton. And so you build, you may take inspiration from something that's already been done and add layer after layer after layer to make it an original character. But here's the deal, dude. I'm not going to go to Disney and look at an audition and go, I'm going to do Porky Pig for that character. Number one, they're not going to cast me doing that. Number two, Warner Brothers would never hire me again. So I'm not going to be as blatant as taking a tried and true character and do that with something else. But what I will do is, like, in the fall, they'll start doing Christmas stuff. So I can guarantee I'm going to play an elf. It's going to be a commercial. It's going to be a cartoon. It's going to be something, but I'll play an elf. And I do it every year. Same voice, same elf. And then a few months later, I'll make the elf a leprechaun for St. Patty's Day. Sort of the same voice, but I just add a little note. You take what you do, you take what you've done, but you add to it based on what's needed for today's project.
And I was watching a Vanity Fair thing you did before we got on, and I was freaking out. I think that's so cool how you look at the character and you just like look at how they I want to be a voice actor, and I that's kind of hard for me to do. When you look at the character and you said it was one character, he had like a knife in one hand and a gun in the other, and you said he looked like Clint Eastwood. He got closer to the mic and he sounded like him, and he did the thing with it. I just think that's so dope. Like, who can like really do that? Like, I know a lot of people could do that, but when I saw you do that, I was just like, my jaw dropped. Like, that's so cool. And how it sounds so different from your normal talking voice is even cooler to me, because whenever I try to do a voice, it's like either a very bad impression or I run out of breath quickly. Like, it's really, really difficult for me to.
Well, let me tell you something, my friend. All characters have a voice, but not all voices have character. It's not about what the character sounds like. It's what it sounds like, as well as its personality, the relationship it's having with its scene partner. If you don't know who the scene partner is, you make it up. You make up where they are. So when also the microphone is a beautiful tool. So for like a Clint Eastwood type of character, if you get really, really close to the mic and you turn up the gain, it can make the wall shake, even if you're whispering. When I do Lama Sue, I don't know how good my mic picks up here, but I move very close and do Lamassu. He's a very intimate character. And a lot of people heard that and they're like, is that you? Because, they're not used to hearing, they're used to hearing, that's all folks. So when I do Lamassu, it's a very, very different, but I get very close to the mic. They turn the gain up very loud. And it's just very cold, calculated, and thinking aloud.
That's so cool. I still freak out. I'm sorry. That's a really cool character too. And the Bad Batch. To flip over from, this awesome voice acting career that you've had, that you've been in for so long, to sort of your more personal side, what is one word you would use to describe your childhood?
Normal. Parents that were married, parents that were supportive. Listen, you're a 5-year-old kid. You tell your mother you want to be Porky Pig when you grow up. They're either going to support that or get you therapy. Okay. I had parents, but kids change their mind every day. On Monday they want to be a fireman. On Wednesday they want to be, I don't know, a baseball player. Yeah. Or exactly. I never wavered. I always wanted to be Porky Pig. And then I didn't even know that was a business. I didn't even know there was a job called voiceover. I just wanted to be that particular character. And I got a tape recorder when I was a kid, and I would practice voices and I would record cartoons. And my parents supported that to the point where when we moved out here, I was 14. My dad took a job in Los Angeles, and my mom and dad were like, okay, we'll pay for voiceover classes, but you got to keep a C average. I thought that's great because I wasn't a good student. You can't learn Porky Pig in geometry class. I didn't care about math. I cared about acting and Looney Tunes. So every Tuesday night, I went to voiceover classes for Tuesday, Wednesday, all day, Saturday workouts from age 14 to 18 during my entire high school career. I went to, and I was still doing play production and theater and school and all that stuff. So, but I was driven and they were supportive. So it was a normal childhood, but nothing unusual, no trauma, everybody has ups and downs, but I never did drugs. I never drank. I never did anything that most kids experiment with because that was going to get in the way of my focus wanting to be a working actor. And that was more important to me than partying with buddies.
That's an amazing thing and an amazing mindset to have. I strive for that mindset, not gonna lie, because I want to have that mindset of doing what I want to do, but also, there's just a lot of social things, like you want to get into, and sometimes that gets in the way of your focus. Like right now, I just graduated a couple months in May, and now is like a time where you try to find what you want to do, who you want to be, going to college, what do you want to do? Like there's so many opportunities for me out there to take. Now is like, going into this and wanting to go into voice acting and stuff like that and acting, because that's something I've always loved to do. Like I said in the beginning, when I was a little kid, I'm a huge Transformers kid. I love Transformers so much. Love Peter Cullen, Frank Welker, the greats. And I'd always do a trash Optimus Prime impression or like a trash robot impression, transform and roll out Autobots. I do that because I love it so much. It's such a cool thing. Seeing what you do literally makes me look like an amateur. I mean, I am, but because I love.
Well, say, give yourself a break. You've not really pursued it professionally. You've probably haven't even taken a lot of classes. But what's cool about where you're at is the sky's the limit. What's scary about where you're at is you're like, well, where do I start? And what's the right path? Well, there is no right path. There is no wrong path. Know what you want. Look, I didn't have the internet. You know what you've got at your fingertips, and it's 99% free? Do you know what VO Buzz Weekly is?
Yes, I do. Love that. Yes.
Okay. You know what Rob Paulson's Talking Tunes is?
Yes, love that.
Dude, these are Crispin Freeman's podcast.
Oh, yes. Oh, another one. Yes.
He also took my class. These are master classes. Master classes. VO Buzz Weekly, Rob Paulson. You hear it from the actors' mouths. You hear it from the casting directors, the agents. You can hear the business of the business. And Josh, it's 100% free. I couldn't get this education when I was starting out because, well, what I would do is I would call people. I would call them and I would stalk them and I would crash recording sessions, and I would call agents and pretend to be a producer so they would send me their actors' demos so I could learn what a demo sounded like. So, you've got this wonderful resource. You've got YouTube where you can watch Seth MacFarlane go from voice to voice to voice on Family Guy. It's a really, really neat time just to be tasting, interested in, testing the waters of what this business is all about.
I was about to say, yeah, like to go back to VO Buzz Weekly, I remember interviews there. I haven't gotten a chance to watch them yet, but with these agents, they had what's her name? I'm trying to remember. Pat Brady, I think it was her name. They had her on, and Dean Pinero from Dean Pinero Talent. Like they've had those people on, like agents who are looking for talent and are telling you what they want, and like that's such an amazing tool to have and like in front of you. So
well, and the thing is, you send a demo to Dean Pinero, to Pat Brady, to Heather Dame at Atlas, to Sandy Schnarr at AVO, and you haven't done your due diligence by researching what they're looking for, what they're not looking for, if you haven't gone to their websites to hear Candy Milo, D. Bradley Baker, Richard Horvitz, myself, Charlie Adler, if you haven't researched the people working today to make sure you're as prepared with a demo that's as good or better, you have no one to blame but yourself, because the information is right there in your face.
Bradley Baker literally has a website called I Want to Be a Voice Actor. Get on that,
It's brilliant. And you know what? When COVID hit, within like weeks, he put a COVID page up on how to do a home studio from a budget to brilliance. I mean, everything we do is in our home studio. I never worked from home until COVID, ever. In fact, I'll show it to you if you can see it, but that's my booth right there.
Oh, nice.
That's my home studio. I spend 8 hours a day in there. And I recorded my entire part of Space Jam 2 in it.
Seriously? You didn't go? I thought they would have asked you to come to like at least the Warner Bros. Studio to do it, because I know some studios are doing that.
We were in lockdown. We were in COVID. I couldn't go anywhere. They weren't open.
Oh, okay.
But voiceover kept going because of home studios.
Yeah, who was I talking? I believe it was Tom Gibbs, who said once COVID hit, he was kind of freaking out because he had to make his studio quick. Like you had to do it or you were out of a job. You had to get Source Connect. You had to get all this stuff to be into the game. And he was like, I was freaking out. I had to like get stuff. I had to like put stuff up. And it's just really interesting to hear how people reacted to COVID as a voice actor. Some were nervous and freaking out. Some were like, oh, okay, well, I guess this is just the new thing to do. Or some are already prepared. Like Tom Kane, for example, who I spoke to, was like, his studio was already made in Kansas City, I believe. That's where he said that's because that's where he lives. He already Tom Kane. Yeah, Master Yoda and stuff like that. And he was like, he made a studio in
understand that Tom lived in Kansas, moved here, became incredibly successful, and then wanted to move his family back to Kansas. So he had to build a home studio, but he also would fly back and forth every once in a while. Jeff Bergman lived in, I think, Philly when we did the Looney Tunes show, and then eventually said, okay, I'm living in LA, and then moved here. But most of us never worked from home. I mean, if you did commercials and promos, you might have worked from your home studio. But most of us who did animation would just audition from home. Within 10 days, I was up and running with a broadcast quality home studio. The agents told the casting directors, who told the studios, and those of us who were ready to go. And now they had to test our studio. They had to hear samples, whatnot. But man, the year of COVID, or 18 months of COVID, has been probably the busiest of my career, because I told everybody I'm good to go. Not everybody was good to go. There were some people who never even auditioned from home. They would go to their agent's office to audition, or they would pay a casting office $10. Read me for this. They had to do this. They had to. And those are the ones who were scared. I don't like technology. I'm better at it now. I'd say when it started out, I was like a kindergarten kid. And so now I think I'm in junior high. So you remember how I was having trouble connecting with you on Instagram? Add that to recording yourself on a cartoon, okay? So now I'm great at Source Connect. I'm great at Twisted Wave. Zoom is a breeze, but everybody wants it a little different. You just kind of go with the flow, and all the engineers and all the producers and all the studios have been so patient and so generous with their time. I have this big fear that I do a great session, come back out and realize, oh, I forgot to push record. I mean, that's my biggest fear in life right now. Hasn't happened, but you know, if it happens, it happens. I mean, there are people that record where there's a power failure all of a sudden, and you're at Warner Brothers, and whatever happens, happens, and you lose everything. What do? You do it again. You know, life happens.
How have you been starting to go back to studios, or do you think that you haven't? Wow. Okay.
No, and they just put another mask order here in Los Angeles. So for Inside, nope. I have not gone back into studios. I am doing a project. Started Friday, finish up this week for Jim Henson Studios. So I have been going there. I went there Friday, but I got to tell you, I have not even been to a restaurant since COVID hit. And my first time, no, right? My first time out with a group, a large group, a massive group, was the premiere of Space Jam last Monday. And I was terrified because there were masks, people were drinking, they were hugging. I mean, I'd seen people live and in person that I'd only seen on a Zoom screen. You know, our director, Malcolm, our producer, Troy, I mean, it was just so exciting to see Spike Brandt, Tony Cervoni, to see these people in the flesh that I hadn't seen in almost 2 years. And then I was terrified because, oh my gosh, and the Delta variant and blah. So I worked for Henson on Friday, and they had the swab thing, and I was fine. I was like, yay! So, and I'm tested again Monday when I go in. The bottom line is, I take this very seriously.
Yep.
If I don't have to go to a studio for the rest of my career, I'm not doing it. Here's the main reason. Forget COVID. Pretend it's all cured. I spend half my day on the freeway.
Okay, see, I was gonna get into that too. Yeah, another thing that Tom Kane said to me, that he hated the traffic to LA. Like, he would be there and for like hours and be in the studio for like less than that, like half of that, and he'd just be like, "This is ridiculous. I don't want to do this."
So now my agent can book more auditions and more jobs throughout the day. Sure, I've got breaks, but I'm folding laundry. I'm catching up on Young and the Restless. I mean, I'm in my house. I don't have to shave. I mean, oh God, when I put on a jacket and a tie for the Space Jam premiere, I was like, wow, this is kind of heavy clothes. I'm not used to wearing clothes. This is so weird. But I miss the ensemble. I miss working with people. You don't usually work with a full cast when you're doing an animated feature. You just record solo. But for serious stuff, it's both. I mean, I did quite a bit of the Looney Tunes cartoons for HBO Max by myself, and I'm still doing it by myself, but it's because of COVID. But I do miss that ensemble recording where you've got as many cast members there as possible, because acting is reacting.
And that's one thing that I really love. I love sort of the thing I had before doing these interviews was that you guys always recorded ensemble. Like, you always did that. Even though I can't remember what was talking about, the industry has changed. Like, they don't really do ensemble recording as much anymore as they used to, like way, way back in the day, which I can kind of understand why. But I always thought, like, for the most part, that you guys did do ensemble, but voice actors informed me, they were like, no, that's not how it works. Like with video games or anime, we're usually squared off in a studio away from other people. And to me, I think I don't want to say that's kind of weird. I get it, because, you have directors who want you to do certain things and stuff like that. But I just really love the romanticism of ensemble recording, like you bouncing back and forth on one another. To talk about Avengers Assemble, you said you recorded with like Roger Craig Smith. You had like so many people in there, like Travis Willingham, Liam O'Brien, Laura Bailey, those rock stars, Troy Baker. Had those people in there, and you're bouncing. Yeah, who?
Fred Tatasciore, he was doing the whole.
Yeah, amazing Hulk, the best Hulk to ever do it. You have all these people in the room, and you're able to bounce off of one of each other's energy. Let's say you're fighting Iron Man. You're there with Iron Man, and you're like, you could really be like, I got you, Iron Man. Like, you could really like get into the mode, like the physicality of the
and you
character.
know what, you make eye contact with your scene partner, and you react that way. And if they're doing this, you're like, oh, and you go with what they're doing because acting is reacting. But I'll tell you, the reason why it kind of shifted to where we weren't doing as much ensemble is because of schedules. When I got into this business, I did my first cartoon in 1982, which was Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. And I was sandwiched in between Frank Welker and Michael Bell. And as far as I was concerned, I was with God and Jesus. I mean, I was just in awe of these guys and I was terrified. And Frank Welker, with every line I did, went like this. And just, he was my cheerleader. Well, back then there were only 3 networks, ABC, NBC, and CBS, doing Saturday morning cartoons. Today, we've got 24/7 animation networks. We've got streaming. We've got games. We've got features. There are only so many actors and so many things to record. So logic tells you, look, you're on 5 or 6 shows. They can't schedule everybody at the same time because we're all very busy. So they'll get people together. So here's like, behind the scenes info. So when you book a series, they will find a day and time that they will schedule for the next year or two that you put in your like, for instance, Looney Tunes cartoons, HBO Max has been Mondays from 9 to 1 in my calendar for like 3 years. Ridley Jones, which I'm doing for Netflix, I think it's Thursdays. Okay. Every show is different. The Bad Batch, I don't remember. I think it was Fridays. So this way, a busy actor could know that I've got Monday morning is Looney Tunes cartoons. I've got Monday afternoon free. So when I have an audition and they really want me, the agent says that it's got to be Monday afternoon if you want Mondays. Okay, we'll make it work. A really busy working cartoon actor can't be at every session with everybody. So this is why we started doing more solo reads. Anime, they didn't need a whole group because you're only concentrating on the one character that you're dubbing. Games is always recorded by yourself because they're not dialogue heavy. They're very rarely is there dialogue, and if there is, they're going to edit it that way. And you also, for games, you must record every possible option the player will have at any time. So one line might be, great, now go up. Great, now go down. Great, now go left. Great, now go right. Great, now go up, then right. But you have to deliver each line as if it's never been said with the same enthusiasm, because as far as the player is concerned, they've never heard it. But after 25, 30 minutes of quick go anywhere, you want to quick go anywhere else. You want to leave because your energy starts to fade, and it takes a really good director to say, let's take 5, stretch, get something to drink, and come back when you're a little bit more comfortable and you're a little more energetic, get some coffee. That's why God made directors, and I love voice directors. I can't direct myself the way I direct my students. I need that voice director to handhold me and guide that performance. They're hearing things. I'm too busy acting. They're hearing things that I can't hear.
Makes complete sense. Well, I guess we could dive more into how did voice acting find its way into your life? I know you said as a kid, you always talked about wanting to voice Porky Pig. So, those cartoons must have had a huge effect on your life.
Yeah, I was kind of like, I was obnoxious, Josh. Can I swear a little bit?
I mean, yeah, go crazy.
When I was growing up, I was an asshole, okay? Because a teacher would ask me a question, and I would answer the teacher either like the teacher or like Porky Pig. Like if it's like kindergarten, first grade, what's 1 plus 1? What's 1 plus 1? 1 plus 1 is this many. So I mean, I was the class clown, obnoxious. But obsessed. I was lucky that my dad moved us to LA. I had gotten myself here eventually, but probably not till I was over 18. We got to LA. I looked in the phone book and I found Hanna-Barbera, Filmation, Deke. I found the companies that do these cartoons. I found Mel Blanc in the phone book, and I called them and I crashed a recording session. And I realized, okay, my voice hasn't changed yet, so I need to study voiceover. So I called Hanna-Barbera. They referred me to a guy named Dawes Butler. And I was in Dawes's class off and on for 10 years. Dawes was Yogi Bear and Captain Crunch and Huckleberry Hound and Snagglepuss. I studied with anybody that offered a voiceover class. Literally anybody. If they offered a class, I took it. I did 2 years of acting training at a Meisner Conservatory, 3 years of improv. So a week out of high school, I got my first job and my first agent. Casey Kasem introduced me to my first agent. It's a long story. I won't go into details, but I don't know if this will work. But if you look, can you see on the wall, there's a picture of Casey Kasem above that picture of Porky Pig?
Yes.
Okay, so a friend of the family had Casey Kasem send that to me as a high school graduation gift. And I sent him a thank you note. I want to do what you do. And he said, send me a homemade demo. I sent him a homemade demo. His agent at the time was a guy named Don Pitts, who was at, I think, Cedars-Sinai Hospital in an oxygen tent. And something had happened. And Casey went with this little tape recorder and played it through the plastic of the tent. And a few weeks later, the agent called me up and said, I think you're very talented. I'd like to represent you. And I said, I don't know what that means, but I'm still in high school. I graduate in June. So if we can do it after 3, yay. I didn't know I'd hit the agent jackpot. He represented Mel Blanc. He represented June Foray. He represented Orson Welles. He represented Paul Winchell. He represented Janet Waldo. He represented the creme de la creme in voiceover. But just because I had like the top agent in the business didn't mean I'm just going to be working like that. So that's why I was a tour guide at Universal for 5 years, because I lived off of being a tour guide. I paid my bills as a tour guide. And I banked everything I ever made in voiceover. The first film I did was a movie called Gremlins. And that was shot on the back lot at Universal. So when I was a tour guide and we would pass through Courthouse Square, which was used later on for Back to the Future, while I was a tour guide. But I would pass through there doing Gremlins, and I would do that and they had no idea I was really one of the guys that did that. But I still, for my tour guide salary. So Universal eventually fired me because I had 32 sick days my last year working there. I was doing more voiceover work. And they said, we can't afford to keep you on. I said, well, I was terrified. Well, what if my acting stops? And they said, well, then you can come back. But right now we can't afford for you to keep calling in sick because you're doing voiceover work. And I realized after 5 years, banking my entire voiceover income, I had banked at least 2 years of living expenses, from rent to car payments, to insurance, to food, you name it. I had banked it. So I thought, okay, that's a sign. I'm going to give this 2 solid years. I can afford to do this for 2 years. And as it turned out, I never had to touch my savings, because from that point on, I've been able to make a living at voiceover. So that was in 1987. In 1990, I bought my first condo. So the bottom line is it was a long journey. It was a lot of work. But I was obsessed, like anything in life. If you want to be a doctor, you want to be a lawyer, you want to be a voiceover person, you've got to want this more than anybody else. I worked really hard to get into the business, and I worked even harder to stay where I'm at.
Most definitely. That's mentality. If you really want it, you'll do it. You'll drop anything. You'll push things to the side. I know one of my friends is a dancer, and she was like, I love dance more than anything. And, even though I miss hanging out with my friends, I'd give anything to dance and do it. And I'm just like, right on. Keep going. Yeah. I'm a terrible dancer, but you go ahead and have a ball.
Me
have
too.
a ball.
You know what? Whatever it is in life, if it's writing, if it's bookkeeping, if it's teaching preschool, whatever that it is, want it more than anybody else. Work harder than anybody else to get there, and just keep feeding that passion, because too many people, even successful people, we're talking mega rich people, there's going to be a time they're going to be on their deathbed, and regret is far worse than failure. I would rather look back and go, well, I didn't make it, but I sure tried, versus, well, I made billions of dollars, but boy, did that suck. You don't have to get paid to act. You just have to act. You can get paid saying, may I take your order? But boy, if you're an actor, the act of acting, in that little booth over there, I get more joy out of an audition than I do with most jobs, because most jobs, I'm not in control of my creativity. I got the job based on my creativity, but there's a panel of producers and writers and network people and a director, all molding what they want out of this performance. And if what they want isn't what I want creatively, that is not my say. I am there to bend what they want, to bend to what they want. Happy to do it because I want to come back next week to next week's episode. I'm a team player, but there's nobody in my home studio and I'm auditioning by myself saying, you can't do that. So I can do anything.
Yeah, I could imagine the fun with that creative freedom. One franchise I really wanted to talk to you about was Marvel. I'm a huge Marvel kid. As you see, there's my finger's weird. There's a Marvel poster right there with Wolverine and all of them and Iron Man. I'm a huge Marvel fan. And you played Winter Soldier in Avengers Assemble. I just wanted to know, have you watched the Marvel movies or have you read the comics? And do you know a little bit about the character? I'm gonna say, yeah, no, I knew it.
The first so the first cartoon I ever did was Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. Now, I was a comic book fan growing up. But if anybody watching this is old like I am, because I am old, Josh. But I was a fan of Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. Okay, the limited animation, and the guy that did the voice of Spider-Man, I think he was also the voice of Hermie, the elf on Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. That's range, and he just recently passed away. I think that's the same actor. I read comics like crazy, Batman, Superman. I read Hulk. But I was a fan of the origin comics. So I had these big binders of the history of early, they were reproductions. They weren't the originals, but I didn't stick. They got expensive. I stopped buying comics when they went to like 65 cents an issue. I started buying them when they were 15. All right. So
they're now $5. So
oh, good Lord. That should come with dinner. I'm sorry. That's expensive. So the answer to your question is I loved the Christopher Reeve Superman movie. I love the Batman movies. I have never seen a Marvel movie in my life. I've seen the Spider-Man once. I saw the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, which was great. Loved it. But I've never seen Iron Man. I've never seen X-Men. I've never seen Captain America.
Stop.
What? But I've also look up. If you look at my IMDb page, I haven't seen half of the stuff I've done. I've never watched Marvel's Avengers Assemble. I've never played a video game I've ever voiced.
Okay.
I just not. My joy is in the doing, not the viewing. Okay. But I love playing Winter Soldier. I'm doing him for a game right now. He's a fun character. And the ironic thing that I love about this that many people won't even relate to, but I do, is that I voice Bucky in Marvel's Avengers Assembled, who's Winter Soldier, and I voice Bucky the Squirrel in The Emperor's New Groove, which are totally different characters, but they're both named Bucky.
Okay, well, I guess I could give you a pass then. But I was just wondering because that's become a huge character, the Winter Soldier. Obviously, he has a TV show, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Captain America. He's been a huge character in the movie. So I just thought you might have been like, "Oh my God, I'm playing Winter Soldier," or freaked out because that's been such a massive character.
I enjoyed working on Marvel's Avengers Assembled. I enjoy working on the game. I love the character. I did a little research on the character when I first booked it because I wanted to know he's not a new character. He's been around, but I don't research another actor's performance of the character. I don't want that to influence me. But yeah, there's been a lot of stuff that I've done that have been fun jobs to do, and I've thoroughly, creatively, artistically enjoyed it. But I'm not a fan of the franchise. I'm not a fan of and I'm God bless the fans. I'm living in a house because of fans. If fans didn't watch or enjoy the content that I do, then they wouldn't keep watching and paying for it, and I'd be still a tour guide at Universal. So, but I just no, I don't really like to watch the work as often as a lot of people do. Some people live to hear themselves, and I cringe when I hear myself. I'm too picky.
That reminds me of Jared Leto, who I remember he said in interviews that he barely watched the stuff he did. And I remember when I saw that, and for some reason I was just like, dude, come on, watch your own work. But when you say it, it makes sense. Like people could cringe, or Jared could just not like, or there could have been a take that he did that didn't make it in the movie. Like for Suicide Squad, I remember he said he didn't watch the Suicide Squad movie. Well, come to find out, they took a lot of scenes of him as the Joker out of the film. Like he was only in the film for like probably like 2 or 5 minutes, when in reality he could have been in there for like 20 minutes plus. But they took all that stuff out. So he could have, one take, he could have had the most fun of his life, and that wasn't in the movie. And that
Right.
could have didn't really show his character. So I get it. I get it now. Why he
And
doesn't
the
watch
thing is,
it.
by the time it's released, you might have finished working on that 2-3 years ago. So, you might have shot that climactic ending first.
Mm.
And then by the time you finish the entire movie, you're like, I want to go back and do the ending again because I now know the character better. But you can't. It's done. So you're like, oh, it's not going to be the film I thought it was going to be, because you're not in control of the finished product. So this is where an actor has to divorce themselves from, as soon as it's cut print, that's a wrap. That's a wrap. That's a wrap. You're done. Unless you've got some ADR to do, but you're done. So you've got to move on. Sometimes I'm pleasantly surprised. I'll watch it. Like, I am really enjoying the Looney Tunes cartoons on HBO Max. I'm thoroughly enjoying them, and not just my own. I am loving the music, the art direction, the character design on every single short, because it's like stepping back in time watching a classic Looney Tunes. But that's not my work. That is Pete Browngardt. That is our showrunner. That is the writing. That is the background artists and Jim Soper. I mean, there's brilliant people working on that I can take a little bit of credit for, but I enjoy watching it because it's darn good.
I know you said, like, to go back to your childhood, you said you love Porky Pig and you wanted to do this character. How does it feel to sort of have I don't want to say a trademark, but sort of you voice this character more than most actors on there who've voiced Porky Pig? How does it feel, if you would have told your younger self one thing about taking this venture, what would you tell your younger self?
Don't change a thing. It's going to happen. Yeah. I mean, everybody has doubts. No matter where you are in your career, you've got doubts, you've got concerns. I think what happens is, as we become adults, reality sinks in. Wow, I got to pay my bills. Wow, now we have kids. Whatever. I would tell my younger self, just keep doing what you think is right. It's all good. And those mistakes you're going to make along the way, they're going to help your future too, because we can't grow without a mistake.
Absolutely. Speaking of mistakes, what is one misconception you had about voice acting coming into the industry?
While I was training, or once I got into the business?
Once you got into the business.
Nothing. And here's why. Because I trained for 4 solid years and I rubbed elbows. I met June Foray when I was 14. I knew the players. I knew what this was all about. I had no surprises whatsoever. I didn't know the people were going to be so nice. I didn't know they were going to be so welcoming and generous. I was never the popular kid in school. I was never the kid who got to sit where the cool kids sat at lunch. I wasn't a jock. I had lots of groups of friends, but I wasn't the popular kid. But I didn't
literally
care.
Describes me perfectly.
No, the thing is, I didn't care, because they're watching right now, forgive me, but a bunch of them were losers. They were getting drunk on weekends, and I wanted to be an actor. I don't know who I went to high school with had such a laser focused goal as I did. So I made a lot of mistakes. My foot has been shoved down my throat so often, it's pathetic. But I learned and I teach my students this. And here's what I did that kind of damaged a relationship with somebody for a while. But I want my students to make their mistake in class, not in the real world where I made it. And back when I was taking classes, nobody talked about making money at voiceover. Classes back then were all about craft. Classes today are all about, how do I get work? How do I negotiate for this job, that job, the other job? Back then, a coach who talked about making money was considered a charlatan, a scam, a red flag. Do not study with anybody who makes this about making money. Classes for craft. I can't guarantee my next job. How can I guarantee a student's next job? But pursue professional acting professionally, save as much as you possibly can, because even if you're a successful actor, your show's going to be canceled. You're going to have a strike. They're going to have a reboot where you're not part of the boot. And that's showbiz. You can't just rely on this to pay your bills prematurely. And then when you do start relying on it to pay your bills, my goodness, live below your means.
Perfect. Like, yeah, like for life, live below your means all the time, because anything can happen. But yeah.
And it will. And it will.
Speaking about like reboots and stuff like that, that was one thing that always bothered me as a kid, was I could tell when the character that I loved was not the same character. For example, Avengers. The show before Avengers Assemble was called Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes, and almost everyone got recast except for Fred Tatasciore, which shows how good Fred Tatasciore is. But everyone got recast. Like Roger wasn't Batman. I mean, what's wrong with me? Wasn't Captain America. Everyone got recast, and that made me so angry, because I was like, who are these fakes? Who are these people? But as talking to people like such as yourself, who have been put in a position where you voiced the character for a minute and that's not your character anymore, and you explain just like how the business works, I'm a little less salty about it. I wish I would have told my kid self that, hey, this showbiz, it happens. It happens a lot. Like, you're not Porky Pig in Space Jam 2. You're Tweety Bird, but that's someone else, And so it just happens all the time. And, I wish if I was the voice acting god, I would keep everyone as the character for as long as they wanted to, but I'm not. And the business is the business. So,
and you know what? None of us own the characters. My name is not Warner. I have no brothers. So I will tell you that I've had to audition for these characters almost every single time there's a major production. I was working on the HBO Max shorts when they made me audition for Space Jam 2. I was working on the Duck Dodgers series, I think, when they made me audition for Looney Tunes Back in Action. So the bottom line is, the first time that happened, I was like, oh my God, like a punch in the gut. And then eventually it's like, well, this is show business. This is the way it works. As far as, you made a really good point. There's a lot of reasons why they bring in somebody else for a well-known part. Sometimes it's money. Sometimes they're not willing to pay the actor what the actor thinks they're worth, and their only way to try to get that money is to risk losing the job. Sometimes they just want a celebrity. Sometimes they just want somebody else. Sometimes the original actor might have rubbed somebody at the studio the wrong way. But for whatever that reason is, the one thing I wish that the powers that be would take into consideration is the expectation of the fans that already love the franchise, that already love what they were seeing. And I think a lot of people feel personally offended when they change their character. They feel this ownership to this franchise, this superhero, whatever. And they feel that the producers aren't thinking of them. Because there's also a new generation who may not have seen the old version. And to them, this is brand new. This is bigger than any one thing. What I can tell you is that, because before the new Space Jam movie came out, everybody on social media was congratulating me and I was listed on blogs. I was under an NDA. I couldn't talk about it. And all of a sudden, people still think I'm playing the character, because the end credits go by so fast and nobody stays for them that they don't see who's playing which character. So here's what I tell people. Look, I've had 31 years where I've done the majority of this character. We're still doing Looney Tunes cartoons on HBO Max. I just signed on for 2 new series playing the pig. Buddy, I got nothing but love and gratitude. How can you not be grateful for that? How can you not be grateful? And I had a blast voicing Tweety on this. So, I would be such a petty fool if I couldn't look back on 31 years and let one. By the way, my God, Rob Paulson has voiced Porky. Billy West has voiced Porky. I think Tress McNeil even voiced Porky on one thing. Jeff Bergman has done a brilliant Porky. He did before I ever did. So I think Greg Burson, bless his heart, he passed away several years ago, had done Porky. Joe Alaskey had done Porky. I'm not the only guy, and I can guarantee there will be others in the future too. This is going to happen. That's showbiz. That's showbiz.
One thing, never mind. But because I was gonna.
Oh, what were you gonna say?
One thing that I would never be comfortable with is how the industry has treated Peter Cullen. I would never be satisfied with that. I think the way he's been treated makes me very angry, because let me tell you why. So
how have they treated him? I don't know this backstory.
Oh, all right. So recently, Transformers, there's a Netflix series I think it's called War of Cybertron. It's a Netflix series. Okay. And Peter Cullen loves Optimus Prime. Like, you could tell he's passionate. He's been in the movies, multiple cartoons and stuff. And he said that something about non-union versus union. I don't really know what that's all about. He was talking about that. I'm confused on how that works. I know you're part of the union, but I don't know how like non-union union stuff works. But he was like, he didn't get the chance to voice Optimus Prime because he wanted to make the pay low, and he didn't like that.
Oh, is the new show non-union?
I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah, that's why he was talking about.
He can't do it. We can't. I can only work union. Yeah,
are you serious?
A union actor. Yeah, that's how it works. If you're a union actor, you cannot work non-union.
I didn't know that. Wow. Yeah. Okay, I thought y'all could like do whatever, like go back of like you could. I did not know that.
Listen, for years they used the Looney Tunes characters at the Six Flag parks, but they were reporting them non-union not for everything. So I did do some of it, but for some of it, they're like, and they were offering me a ton of money. I'm like, I can't. I mean, it's one of the rules is you cannot work non-union. So I don't think they were treating Peter poorly. I think he was disappointed that they weren't going union. Now that doesn't that also often means they're paying a lot less. Oh, okay. And there's no residuals. And and there's nothing goes to your pension or your health insurance, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I think he was disappointed that they went the non-union route. And I think, I don't know all the stories behind this. That's my guess with this whole thing.
Right.
But Peter's another one who is such a nice guy. And he loves his fans, and he does love that character big time.
Such a big Optimus Prime fan. I'm glad he's coming back for the new movie. So it is what it is. And I heard it's supposed to be more of an Optimus Prime centric thing. So at least they're making it back to him somehow. And he's been talking about for the longest time he wants a solo Optimus Prime movie. So I guess this is their way of giving it to him because, huge Peter Cullen fan, like literally would copy his voice all the time. I wanted to talk about Star Wars because of Bad Batch. And I know my fans, not fans, my friends would be very mad if I didn't talk to you about this.
Oh, you got fans, buddy. It's okay to have
and they'd be mad if I didn't talk about Lama Su and Bad Batch. Now, Lama Su is a really cool character that I didn't even know he was in the Clone Wars until I looked it up. He was there. He was also in Attack of the Clones, and who was played by someone else. I can't remember his name. I think it was like Anthony something. Played him in the Attack of the Clones. Yeah. And I just think it's really cool how like kind of evil he is. He's kind of just like direct in how he feels. He's very mean to that female Kamino who was like, he's just like really cut and dry. He's like, no, we're getting this done like now because he's sending bounty hunters to get Omega so they could like make the clone army. He's very like, I want the clones to last forever. They're trying to get rid of them and push them out and make the stormtroopers. I hate that. And he's just really goal oriented and has this focus, and he's willing to do anything to get it. And that means hurting people. That means potentially killing the Bad Batch, clones he made and helped make with Jango Fett's DNA. And I just think it's so cool to see you portray that character so just like evil, just with a lot of malice and just very, I hope we see him again because he was in the first couple episodes, but he hasn't come back. So I hope
you'll see him. You'll see him.
Oh, okay, that's good. That's all I want to know. He's coming back. Okay, I want to see him again because now they also need to bring back Commander Cody. They need. If I ever talk to D. Bradley Baker, I need to ask him whatever happened to Commander Cody because that's one thing. Have you watched the prequels?
The movies?
Yeah, the prequels. There's So the original four are New Hope, Return of the Jedi, Empire.
Oh yeah, I've seen them all. Yeah,
okay, cool. So yeah, I just would really like to know what happened to that clone in particular, because he voices all of them, which is crazy. But what is your favorite thing about getting into the mindset of this character, Lamasu?
So I only see the pages I'm in. I don't get the entire script. So I only, and most of my scenes are with Nalase. So I'm always questioning our director. Well, what's he thinking? What is his plan? What's it? Well, they don't necessarily give me a lot of information because the way I play him is very cold and calculating, and you never quite understand what he's thinking. You know, he'll do a command, he'll do an order, you know, get the messages to the emperor. But you can hear his mind is spinning. He's thinking of something else. Well, I don't know what that is either. So I am playing him with this layer of mystery because I'm at a loss. But it's adding to my character choice. And every time, I've said this on a few interviews now, every time I know he's very flat, very cold. And every once in a while, I'll be like, no, send him that. Oh, no, too much emotion. Bring it down. All right. Because they want the audience to be guessing too.
I'm just really intrigued by what they're going to do next with Kamino. Obviously, we know what happens to the clones. They get replaced, like stormtroopers come in their place and we know what happens. So I'm just really intrigued how they're really building that so we can see and know like what's gonna, like how that happened, like why the stormtroopers are in place instead of the clones. And I mean, obviously, like they're running out of DNA. They're running out of Jango Fett's DNA to continue processing making these clones, and they're also expensive. So that's what Tarkin said, that they're very expensive to continue to make, and stormtroopers just be way easier, which makes a ton of sense. But you know, I love clones more than stormtroopers because I just love the customization. You know, they could be blue, they could be red, they could be black. But stormtroopers is just white, it's just plain white.
Exactly. They're like cookie cutter.
Yeah, that perfect exact. Like they're just cookie cutter, just same batch and all that. So what do you hope they do with this character moving forward? I know you can't talk about too much because of NDAs and stuff.
Oh, like A New Hope. Okay, I honestly don't have an answer other than I want a season 2. You know, I mean, listen, I haven't been talked to. I don't know what's going to happen. But here's what I've been happy with. From episode 1, the fans have gone crazy. And I knew they would because I did get to see some animation. Because when you work on a show, you record the voices first and they animate to you. But then every once in a while you have to go back and they like, let's change this line. We've cut this scene, so we need to have a bridge. So I get to do it to picture. And I remember the first time I saw the animation, and it's in the family of Clone Wars, but I think they took it up a notch. And it really I was so impressed with the music, with the look, with the animation. And I think the fans are going to demand a season 2. I just cannot imagine they're not going to do that, but I can't speak for them. I don't know what's going to happen. The answer is I don't know. We got to stay tuned.
Absolutely. And I'm really thoroughly enjoying like where they're going now, especially with bringing in the characters from the Rebel series, just bringing them in, and that connectivity, everything just about like everything connecting is so cool to me. Like I really think them bringing in Cad Bane from the original Clone Wars series we're gonna see him in live action, because I just think that make the most sense, because we're getting a Boba Fett TV show coming out in December, and the character Finnick, who's been in a bunch of the promotion, fought Cad Bane. So I think we're gonna see him pop up in flashback or something live action. I think that'd be cool, and get Corey Burton to voice him. That'd be very cool. to just do well. I don't know, because they didn't get Ashley to voice Ahsoka. They gave that to Rosario Dawson in The Mandalorian, so they might do it that route again. But I just really love the connectivity between stars and just how like everything connects. That's just always been so cool to me. Especially with the Clone Wars. Like if you watch the Clone Wars and you watch the prequels, it like adds so many other dimensions because these characters have interacted with one another. They have history. The clones betraying the Jedi has more weight because with the movies, you don't really get to go in depth with a lot of these characters. Things just kind of happen, you know,
Right.
and it's kind of left to your imagination. And, you know, I remember, I mean, I was still traumatized when the clones killed the Jedi in the Revenge of the Sith, but now it's more sadder, especially with Commander Cody, because Cody and Obi-Wan had a great rapport, great relationship, or seeing the clone shoot Plo Koon out of the sky in his Jedi Starfighter, or them killing Aayla Secura, shooting her in the back until she was dead. Like, but after she was dead, they kept shooting at her in the back, which was another traumatic thing. So it's just so cool. Just adding all those letters.
It's such a shame you're not a fan.
No, I mean, I would say you're a fan. I mean, you watch the movie.
No, dude, you know more about this than I do. I'm listening to you going, oh, really? Oh, no kidding. Okay. Wow. You go.
Well, I shouldn't have said Cad Bane. Well, do you know who Cad Bane is?
I know Conrad Bane. I know.
No, you don't.
I know Cadbury chocolate.
You don't then. Unfortunate. But no, he's a bounty hunter, so it is what it is. I mean, I'm glad you've at least seen the movies, so that's cool. You've seen the newer ones too, right? Like
but you know what? I don't know a bad Star Wars movie from a good one because I like them all. And I've seen a movie and I was like, they're like, oh my God, that one was terrible. I'm like, I had fun. I'm just here to be entertained. I just thought it was cool.
Another Star Wars character you play, as we were speaking earlier, Luke Skywalker. You do a fantastic job. I looked at what the amount of people that voiced Luke Skywalker. You have voiced Luke Skywalker the most. Of course, Mark Hamill's played him, but like out of cartoons, video games, you voiced him the most, and you knocked it out of the freaking park time and time again. And I genuinely say that. I don't say that because I'm talking to you. I mean that genuinely. You did a really great job. Like you really brought the essence. Like if Mark Hamill didn't voice Luke in The Mandalorian, which I thought was really cool. He didn't do the body, but he did the voice, and he sounded perfect. As like still sounded like.
Oh yeah.
But which I think is awesome. But I mean, he's a voice actor, so you know you got to have range.
He's a brilliant voice actor. Brilliant voice actor. He won an Emmy yesterday.
He did? Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. He won an Emmy yesterday.
Have you ever met Mark Hamill in person?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we were nominated against each other for an Emmy a few years ago. He didn't come to the awards. He had, bless his heart, he had promised, I think, that day to do Billy West's podcast, so he didn't come to the awards. We were on a panel together at Comic-Con once. You know, we text and we'll email each other. I mean, we're not like best buddies, but we know of each other. I forget which movie, which I think it was the first of the last 3 Star Wars movies. They premiered it on Hollywood Boulevard, and they had a ship on Hollywood Boulevard, and we wanted to go and see the ship. And there's a hotel right across the street. So we wanted to go to the hotel and look down at the ship and the red carpet and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I wonder if Mark can add a couple of people to the screening. So I'm texting him and that was where he was. He wasn't at that premiere. He was doing Billy West's podcast. So he got back and he goes, oh, I'm not there. My wife and kids are. I'm doing Billy West podcast. So I was like, oh, because he was only in that film for like the last 5 seconds.
Yeah.
You know, that was.
Yeah.
But you know, he's such a nice guy. And if you follow him on Twitter, he's clever as hell and he loves the fans. And I did get to play that version of Luke in an episode of Robot Chicken. I'm not sure if it's aired yet or not, but most of the time I'm playing either, you know, young Luke or Jedi, which sort of the Jedi Luke. But I got to play gray fuzzy Luke, and it was different. It was just a very different production. Mark's voice kind of changed a little bit.
Yeah. So yeah, that's just really cute. I'm glad you got to meet him. That's really cool that you got to meet Mark Hamill. I mean, that's a legend. That's the Joker. That is the Joker.
Well, we were at a studio one day, and in the lobby, and he goes, "Hey, what are you here for?" I said, "I'm here for Looney Tunes." He goes, "Oh, I'm dying to do Looney Tunes." I said, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah, I would love to do Looney Tunes." So I went in and told my producer, I said, "Hey, Mark Hamill's in the lobby. He'd love to do a Looney Tunes." And they said, "Oh my God, really?" So they wrote him a part, but it wasn't one of my shows. I wasn't in it, so I was really bummed. I was really, really, really bummed.
Oh,
that would have been fun.
That would have been legendary. So to speak about Looney Tunes now, like Porky Pig and Tweety Bird, out of those two characters, which of you had the most fun voicing? Actually, no, I'm gonna change that question. Porky, of course, but I'm gonna change that question. Out of there are tons of Looney Tune characters. They've been around for years. Like these characters been around for multiple decades. Out of all the sort of smaller characters, Looney Tunes characters that you've voiced, who is the most fun that you've had voicing?
I just did them and I can't talk about them because it's under an NDA.
Dang it. All right. We'll find out eventually. Now I'll text you about it.
Yeah.
I'll be like, okay.
We literally recorded him last week for a new series. And I've never played him before. There have been other little characters, like in the original Space Jam, I played Hubie and Bertie, the two little mice. Hey, Blake, come here. Yeah, sure. Right. I've done the Chicken Hawk. Sylvester Jr. I really enjoyed playing. Sylvester Jr. I mean, a lot of people don't even realize Sylvester has a son. We don't know who Mrs. Sylvester is, but Sylvester has this illegitimate son who thinks that a kangaroo is a giant mouse. And I haven't done them that often. I did 2 or 3. I don't know how often they've used them, but I remember back in the 90s, I did them for a few things. And he's like, "Oh, Father, I'm so ashamed. My own father can't even catch a giant mouse. How can a fellow face the troop floor?" Or something like that. How can I ever face a fellow on troop floor? It's been a while since I said those lines. But yeah, that's a fun one. But my all-time favorite is the pig.
I mean, he's in your Twitter profile picture, so I would assume that's gonna be one of your favorite characters to voice. Now we're gonna get into the fun part of my interviews called Weird and Wacky, where you have 1 minute to answer a series of random and weird questions. No one has gotten to a record of 15 questions, although the championship title holder Simon Norfleet has answered a record of 14 questions. Do you think you'll beat Simon?
I will certainly try. Now, it's based on like, don't think, just answer?
Yeah, just answer. I mean, you can't think, but I mean, you could just answer too. Whatever floats your boat. All right, I'm about to start the timer.
Okay.
And
oh my God. Okay.
I'm about to start the timer in 3, 2, 1. Least favorite food?
Dairy.
Least favorite movie growing up?
Anything Western.
Favorite movie growing up?
It's a Wonderful Life.
Would you rather be stung by bees or bitten by a dog?
Bitten by a dog.
Have you ever had a near-death experience?
No.
A cartoon you wish you were a part of?
The Flintstones.
Current thing you're watching?
Big Brother.
Would you rather fly or run fast?
Fly.
Favorite dessert?
Anything chocolate.
Favorite drink?
Gin.
The dumbest thing you did as a kid?
Walk on glass.
Dumbest thing you did recently?
Pass.
Favorite subject in school?
Theater.
And character you wish you could play forever?
Porky Pig.
Dang it. If I went a little faster,
I couldn't think of anything dumb I've done recently. Oh, I should have said couldn't get on Instagram. Can I get a half a point for that?
Sure.
Okay.
But yes, you and Simon are tied, which is really, really cool because no one has gotten close. Like Roger got to 12. I think Steve got to like 11. You interviewed Chris. Chris actually interviewed you. He got to I want to say like 9 or 8. So you did better than most of the people. So congrats to you, Bob. Let's go. Bob got 14 questions answered. 14 and a half questions answered. But now I'm gonna transition to my final question. And I would just like to say this has been an absolute honor. I've just had so much fun getting to talk to you and know about you more as a person. Like, this has just added so much more layer to your characters, and like watching you on Vanity Fair and just like all the things you've done is just so cool and an inspiration to me as someone who is intrigued by this voice acting industry. It's just really awesome. And I'm just really glad that I got the opportunity to speak to you and that you really took the time out of your day to speak to sort of a nobody. And I really do appreciate that. So thank you so much.
Well, you're good at what you do.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And my final question to you is, and I really feel like this is an important question to ask because there's so much going on around the world today, but what is your current message to the world? Obviously, we're still in a pandemic. There's a Delta variant going around. Laws are being changed, climate change, things happening on social media. People are feeling scared and down and just need of hope. What would you say to people who are down and need of hope?
Lighten up. Get a sense of humor back. Learn to laugh at yourself. Just because somebody's laughing at something about you doesn't mean it's supposed to be offensive. Take the chip off your shoulder. Put on a Mel Brooks movie. Just learn to laugh at ourselves, yourself. Differences should be celebrated, and there's nothing wrong with finding humor in each other. Everyone's waking up today to be offended, rather than just brush it off, laugh at it, and comedy gets you through anything. Laughter gets you through anything. And people today, all they want to do is look to be offended, and it's hurting them. It's hurting their children, and it's actually feeding into the bullies, because we're waking up looking to be offended rather than going, you know what, bully, you can't bother me. I can laugh at you. We can laugh at that. We can move on. But right now, man, comedy and humor will get you through anything.
I completely agree. I've been through a lot of situations recently where I've just been like, dang, well, this is kind of sucks. But I've just watched funny video or just looking like I was looking forward to this. Like I just like light up like a Christmas tree. Like I just be like, oh wow, the world is the world, but like this is my moment to laugh, to take a breather. Because sometimes I feel like we're so caught up in what we do that we forget to breathe. Like we forget to, you know what I'm saying? Like sometimes we forget to just take it easy on ourselves, you know. Our life is too short for us to be constantly just bringing ourselves down and just looking at the worst of ourselves. Like let's look at the positives. Let's try and build a better future for tomorrow. Let's laugh. Let's enjoy the people around us while we still can. I'm a big proponent of giving people their flowers, well, or you know, giving people their love and respect while they're still here to smell them, to still enjoy it. So just show love to everyone and just make sure people know that you care. Like reach out to people, you know, like do your part and just make sure each other is good. And like Bob said, like laugh. Let's laugh again. Come on, funny little joke. You know?
Laugh. And if you think somebody's intent is to offend you, who cares? Ignore. You know what? Laughter and ignore idiots. If you pay attention to them, you feed into them, and they're going to keep doing it. If you go, yeah, not for me, and just keep walking away, sticks and stones, I don't care. Boy, they're still idiots, and you've moved on.
Facts.
And you're happy. You're happy, and they're still idiots.
Absolutely. But yeah, but that was my last question for you today. Is there anything you want to plug before we head off?
Oh my gosh, we've talked about most of it. Ridley Jones on Netflix is a fun show. So well written. I'm trying to think what I can talk about.
Space Jam just came out.
Yeah. Looney Tunes cartoons still on HBO Max. Oh, we got so many more waiting to air. I mean, we got 200 of these things. I think they've only aired like 20 or 30.
What? That's insane.
200 shorts. Two new. I can't say what they are, but there are 2 new Looney Tunes series that are in the works. Perhaps more, but 2 that I know of. Can't say what they are. I'm sure lots more stuff down the road. I can't talk about that. I'm
cursed
about
NDA.
Half a dozen. I know. Well, but you know what? You got to respect them. You got to honor the NDA. No, people are leaking things on social media, and it's so not fair to the studios and the networks and the fellow actors, because then they have to kind of change the direction of where this is going to go. But anyway, there'll be more. We'll do this again when there's more.
Oh, absolutely. Hey, absolutely. This has been the most fun I've had. Like I said, well, I guess I can announce to you guys. Well, this is my last interview for a little bit. You know, things are moving and shaking, but I'll be back soon, and I'm excited to announce my next guest. And Bob, I will tell you who that guest is once we log off. If you have time for a quick little chat.
NDA. You have your own NDA. Okay.
Yeah. But, well, guys, I'll see you on my next interview. Y'all stay safe. Thank you for watching. Thank you guys for the year of support. I've been doing this for a year, and it's really crazy to think that this will just be a little hiatus. And I'm just honored to have spoken to you, Bob. I'm honored to have spoken to these giants in the industry, and I just hope to be back sooner rather than later. And thank you guys so much. And
now, do you want to end it with the pig?
Let's do it. Let's go.
That's all.
Let's go.